Hello, everyone. I've got an interesting one for you guys today. I've managed to get in touch with a bit of an old author I've been interested in for a very long time. Anyone who's listened to my channel for the years I've been here will remember I made a video where I encountered a terrifying character called the Hat Man. And since then, I've been kind of hunting to figure out just what this thing was and what it wants and who it is and just what the deal is with this elusive, terrifying this creature that keeps coming to people. Um, I discovered, immediately after having my experience that thousands of other people were also experiencing the exact same thing. And that is enough to raise anyone's eyebrows. And it was not long after researching the Hat Man that I found Heidi Hollis, the author of The Hat Man, the true story of evil encounters. And I got her with me right here, right now. So Heidi, how are you doing?
Hey there. I appreciate you having me on. This is it's really cool. I mean, I appreciate it.
No,
All
no.
is well.
Thanks for being here. Honestly, I'm fanboying a little bit, but it's it's nice to have you here. Honestly, I'm really thankful that you would take the time to talk with me. As I was explaining before we started, I realised you were talking to people publicly again after a bit of a break. When I saw you on the Ravens Watch podcast, who I was recently on with, and I've become good friends with him since then. So I reached out to him and he said, yeah, I'll let Heidi know, and then we got in touch on Instagram and yeah, very quickly here we are. So it's been wonderful. Just a quick, in the chat, guys, just quickly let me know if the sound is all right for you guys. We don't want to be talking into the air. And we know YouTube has a few technical issues every now and then. So if people in the chat can just say all good on the sound that you can hear me and Heidi, and then we'll carry on with this. But in the meantime, let's switch the screen and let's share our Skype so they can see our faces as we talk. Okay, so they can see us now. And I just want to quickly check this chat if I can get it up.
Yeah, I'm running into issues to join your chat, so I won't be able to do it. It's giving me issues. I'm like, I don't understand it, but if I can at some point, I will try to get in there.
Certainly.
Yeah, so I guess to just start off, huh?
Go for it. The sound's all good. Everyone says it's fine. So let's go.
Okay, great. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is hold on one second. It's doing something crazy. Ah, there we go. Now I can see you.
Next.
Okay. Oh, hold on. Oh my gosh, this is really being a pain. Sorry. Okay.
No problem. Right. Well, to start, let's start with your testimony. Let's let the guys
Yeah.
know who might not know who you are, where you come from, what you do with your time now, and what you've been doing in the past, and just tell your story of
Yeah.
how you got into this, because this is a creepy, dark, strange world to be a part of. So
Uh,
let's explore this.
yeah. Yeah. So, well, I've been looking into strange things for a very long time because I was trying to find answers for myself initially. I guess to let people know I'm the first and only person to ever discover, define, name, and now trademark two phenomena, one being shadow people, the other being the Hat Man. And I've written several books. I have 8 books published. Only 3 are on this topic, and that's mostly what I get called about because it was quite a feat to hop into such a thing. I was raised in a haunted house, partially. Nothing I would ever wish on anybody. I lost my mother when I was very young, and the home slowly became something else. A lot of people were like, well, obviously it was your mother. It's like, no, I was 7, my sister was 5. What mother do you know would want to terrorize her very young children? So I was like, that's a bunch of crock. But I didn't know what it was. I didn't understand it. Now, as I've come forward and discovering so many different things when it comes to these strange phenomena, it was shadow people back then. It took me a long time to realize, and I guess there's no more protective love than your mother. I'm sure she kept it all at bay, and as soon as she crossed, it just had at us, and it just never quite let up. But I didn't know. I didn't know what I was dealing with. To dive into the shadow people happening, because there's so many different layers to my story. It's really out there. But it was a challenge, you know. I was with a friend in another state while I was in college, and we're walking in broad daylight, and I saw this black shadowy mass following us in broad daylight, and it was huge. It was probably 8, 10 feet tall. I don't know. It was huge. And we reached our destination, turn back, go back to our house. I was staying over there, and I was just beside myself. This thing follows the whole way. I drew it to my, to show my friend, like, I don't know what I'm seeing, but I just saw this. And she leans in. I think she's gonna laugh, but no, no. She instead says, that thing again, I don't know. It's been following me since I was a kid. She shows it to her dad. He's like, oh, not that again. Gosh, he comes in waves. And I'm like, and what they were talking about, what I drew was what I call the head and shoulder shadow. It looks like something with its head directly connected to its shoulders, big hulking thing, doesn't have legs, glowing red eyes. And if you go to my website, you'll see the head and shoulder shadow, which is shadowfolks.com, or just my name, HeidiHollis.com. So I saw that thing, couldn't understand it. And it confronted me that same day. And I didn't know it then that I started experiencing a phenomenon connected to it almost immediately after that. Um, I saw shadow spiders, huge, took up the whole ceiling. Didn't know what I was looking at. Sometimes I'd see thousands of little ones, and it's weird to have a dream and then wake up and still see it. And that's what I was experiencing. And I'm getting up physically, looking at them, grabbing a broom, trying to kill the thing. But again, I didn't know what I was dealing with. I was raised in a haunted house. I'd seen UFO. By that stage, I'd also had UFO respond to me. Really strange to have that happen. I was interested in the topic because I'd seen craft. I lived out in the country, and I'd seen craft go, they look like little dots in the sky, kind of following, doing 90-degree angle turns, just weird stuff. I'm like, what on earth? So I knew something was up. But then to have it respond to me, show up when I commanded it to, because I was, I got challenged, by a friend's family, the same friend. I was raised Christian, and it's like, oh, you're looking into that devilry, and I was like, you know what? If this is evil, I don't want anything to do with it. So that's when I demanded. I'm like, all right, you things have something to do with the devil or something evil. I'm done right now unless you show up right now. And they did. I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, I believe you. All right. What? Who would think these things would listen? It was crazy. Oh, somebody. Oh, am I getting feedback too? I'm hearing. I'm getting the feedback finally. So, anyways, people wonder how I research shadow people or hat men. Now, no one had ever heard of the phenomenon. No one had a name for the phenomenon. How do you research that? I didn't. I didn't. Okay. And this is where it takes another step into the weirdness. So I had a UFO website called UFO2U.com. It's a number two, letter U.com. I still have it up. It was a UFO group that I ran for 15 years. And why? Because I'd seen a lot of craft, and huge ones took up the whole sky. And then, of course, the ones that would respond and come down, I didn't know what I was dealing with again. And, I was in college when I put this up, and I got a college roommate who was just heavily religious, Pentecostal, the ones that don't cut their hair and wear the long skirts. And but I was a cartoonist. I was an art major. The college roommate was an art major. I thought, oh, this would be fun. Well, I'm looking at UFOs. She thinks it's all devilry. I'm like, oh boy. And yes, I had stepped away from my Christian background. I was in college. I wasn't going to go to church. And I'd seen so many strange things out there. I really thought that Jesus was just something historical. He's supposed to come back one day, and you're supposed to say your prayers in his name. It was more head stuff than anything. So I wasn't into any of that stuff. And I'm skipping a whole lot to try to get this
Yeah.
squashed into the time that we have. So people ask me a question if I'm missing a step for you. So I get this college roommate. I'm experiencing these shadow people things. I had by that time joined another UFO group before I started my own. And my college roommate, just not into it at all. Keep the evil people out, cult members. Now, she was, and this all leads into the shadow people, how I came to understand. She had an encounter while she was driving to her school in the middle of the day. A creature jumped on the hood of her car. She calls me in a panic. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She's like, I never had a friend, especially my college level, that was like, really into this stuff and was just carrying on. Oh my God, there's an alien on my. I was like, oh, what? We go to meet up later. We're talking about it. I'm like, so explain to me, what took place. And as she's talking to me, she's like, we're sitting in the car talking about this, and she goes, I need to meditate. I need to meditate. I'm like, I don't know. She meditated. I mean, what a strange thing to say in the middle of talking about. You saw the coolest thing I've ever heard of. And she closes her eyes briefly, and she was Puerto Rican. She had a very thick accent, and all of a sudden this voice comes from her. I was like, it said, I've been waiting to speak to you for a very long time. And I'm like, what? I'm like, Samantha? It's like, oh, no, this is not Samantha. I'm like, I'm confused. What's going on here, And I was pressing up against the side of the door like I'm about to jump out. But even though we're parked, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I belong to a UFO group. I had seen many of people get regressed to remember their alien contact experiences. And I'd seen on a couple of occasions where when a person's being regressed to remember what they'd experienced, the being would speak through them.
Hmm.
That is not uncommon. And so it was like a real live event. It's like they're channeling almost. And I recognized this is what my friend was doing. And it was wild, to have this happening to, a good friend of mine. I'm like, it said I'm what you would call an alien. I'm like, oh really? I'm like, hold it, maybe she's pulling my leg, And I'm like, okay, alien, where's your ship? Oh, it's very high up. We cannot bring it down as we used to because your governments know how to shoot us. Oh, well, that's convenient. I'm like, and then it paused and said, but I think I'm close enough to project an image of myself. And I'm like, well, who knew? What? How does that be done? The car started filling with this like hum, and I am not kidding you. This very small, pinkish, fleshish, tiny creature appeared in the car seat between us, and I was like, okay, 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 I believe you. I see you. I see you. I was like, you know, so I knew what we're experiencing was real. And it was just mind blowing. So again, skipping a few segments, we're like, kids in a candy shop. We're like, wonder if she could do it again. I was like, hey, think you could do that again? She's like, I don't know. But let me tell you, she was absolutely freaked when she woke up from this. She did not like reading English much. She grabbed like four of my books at the same time, just trying to understand. I got to find answers. What is this? I need to talk to your weird friends, So she's like wanting to talk to everybody that was into this at the UFO meetings. And I was like, what the heck? Now, so again, we're excited. She does this again. She goes in this relaxed state and pops in this voice again. And I'm like, so can you tell me the lottery numbers? you know, we asked all the silly stuff I was going for. And I was like, come on, why is he here? And then I'm like, where are you at? Now, most of his answers were, it would not benefit you to know that. Oh, okay. And it's like 90. I mean, this was the response for everything. Where are you at? If I told you, you wouldn't know where it is anyhow. What's the name of it? If I told you, you wouldn't know what that is anyhow. I was like, well, this isn't fun. And then I got just kind of tired of these responses. And I just shared a weird dream I had that seemed so real, it was hard to believe it didn't happen. And what it was, in a nutshell, I saw the moon coming towards the planet. And all of a sudden, this ship popped up in front of it and started to pull the moon at a different angle, but it still kind of popped our protective bubble, and winds came whipping, houses were flipping down the street. It was crazy. So I shared this dream with this being, and this was the first time I got a response, where he was like, well, the darkness in your planet pulled the moon towards it. You call them shadow people. We call them shadows. I mean, put the brakes on. I was like, what? What? Are you kidding me? So that was the journey into communicating with some kind of other form of life who absolutely dictated, informed what these beings were, why they were here, what they're up to. I could not have studied this. I couldn't have found this. There was nobody out there discussing such a thing. I just called them shadow people. They didn't look like people. I know they were never people. They could shapeshift into the spiders, to the rodents, to a shadow streak, shadow cloud. They could take all sorts of shapes and forms. And when I first spoke of Hat Man, I called him Hat Man Shadow. I thought he was another form shadow people could take. I personally had not seen him. My college roommate did, and so I just assumed. I assumed that was another form. But the second that I had the website UFO to You, I wasn't allowed to by this being. He told me, do not speak of what these things are and what I'm telling you until you get your book put in hard print. And so don't write anything down, don't take notes, don't record this because the information might end with you. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? Something wants to kill me? It's just weird. So that was in 1997. Well, 1996, 1997. It took me 2 months to write that book. It was so urgent. And I had everybody from David Icke to so many different people wanting to publish the book because I was doing interviews, but I wasn't naming what it was. I shouldn't say I was doing interviews. I did some. I was in college. I was terrified to speak in public, but I did sightings with Jeff Rentz, and I did name it. But he had that whole interview. Dictated, he typed it up and all this stuff, and they were going to publish it. It was wild. And in the meantime, he did not end up publishing it, of course, and I'd sent it out to other authors in the field because who else published these types of books or other authors in the field? I sent it to radio hosts. I'm not going to name names. So if there was chatter of shadow people prior, it's because I was sending it around. But it took me 4 years to finally self-publish, and I got it published in 2001, and that's when I was allowed to say the name of what it was and all the details of it. Now, if it was wrong information I was given by these beings, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have connected with people. It resonated all over the world. It's gone viral every day ever since. And you know, it's been a strange space to be in because when I first stepped out on the scene and started telling people about what this was, it's like, you're looking at the shadows of ghosts. That was ghost hunters telling me that, and oh, that's science fiction, and oh, I always said they're related to alien beings. They're connected to alien beings, and I'll get into that as well. And it was always, who this little girl thinks she is, and being a lady in the field is rare. Being a black lady, being the only one, and that kind of holds true still today, having done all the stuff that I have. So it was really a struggle. But then it got stranger when so you put something out there, you don't expect people to grab it and try to make it their own. Oh, I did this. It's like so many people all over the world doing television and conferences and films and sometimes they'd reach out and tell me, "Oh, I want to do a project." I'm like, "Well, that's my material. You can't." Um, and they would go and do it anyways, but I sure wouldn't be looking for it until I'd get somebody responding, saying, why did you do that film, Heidi? That's not what you wrote about in your book. I'm like, what? I don't have a single film out there. I don't know what you're talking about. And the distortion of the truth, well, and the harm that it's caused. There's people trying to conjure these things. And the information that was given was so pure for a reason. And I was told about some of the different steps and some of the things that would be happening and how it would explode to such a level. There would be more that needed to be told. And I'm getting close to being able to disclose the rest of the story that I didn't even know myself. So it's been hard. It's been hard. And you don't people say, well, you haven't been out there speaking so much, Heidi. I'm like, well, I don't get invited either. There's a guy that could do this for me instead that I don't know, apparently. But it's like, even when I've done some TV shows, I get dubbed to be for my words get injected into some guy that could present this better. Or I had a question on one show. How many of these cases have you had, Miss Hollis? I said thousands on the first night. They dubbed me to say Miss Hollis has investigated dozens and dozens. Like dozens and dozens. Really? Oh man, it's heartbreaking. And some of them are like believe it or not, when you look at the numbers for radio that listen to these types of shows, it's in the favor of women. More women listen to this. But the media for some reason feels like it shouldn't be presented by a woman. So it's more that I'm a woman than anything. And it's like, I've had these people say, wow, you know so much and so many different topics, but we can't have a woman present that. Can you teach a guy everything you know? It's so weird. I'm not kidding you. It's happened over and over. So I'm trying to put a different spin out there to let people know this happens to anybody and everybody. Yeah, I've got a fluffy name, Heidi Hollis, Yeah, I don't look the role of somebody that goes just stomping around in the dark and on these demonic topics, and I don't talk with a flashlight under my chin. I talk about this so everybody can get comfortable with it because it's coming. It's here. People are dealing with this, and they shouldn't be ashamed. They shouldn't have to be depressed and feel oppressed to share. That's the reason why somebody like me does pop out as and tries to pull in these different understandings because you see that need there. People shouldn't have to write me from the other side of the planet to express themselves because their wife can't understand or they might lose their job. So it's time to pull this out of this paranormal closet and talk about this differently as we are, as flawed as we are, humorous. I like to laugh about a lot of stuff. You could see the books behind me; those are mine. I'm a cartoonist as well as a therapist, so I do comics. I try everything that I've created and written is to try to get people to this understanding of this world, especially when it comes to the threat of these shadow people and the Hat Man phenomenon. Because 9 times out of 10, when people write me, they're like, "So I don't get into that religious stuff, but I just saw the devil." That's a religious title, devil. Hello. Um, you have to realize that these things don't care what you believe in; they're still coming for you. And if you're not prepared to take them on as you are, you're not going to win. They have an opposing force. I identify as Christian, uh, and so I know the force that opposes them, and it works every time. So I'm not shy to say it. A lot of people seem to be ashamed to say they're Christian because they're ex-Catholics or whatever. I'm like, well, that's on you. I get it. They did terrible things, but guess what? That relationship you have with God is different, right? I mean, come on. So it's a cop out. I really believe that. And there is something standing at the foot of your bed that your soul knows and feels is evil. You don't even have to open your eyes and you feel it. What's that tell you? You have a soul. And there's something that can oppose that. It's not your will that's going to throw it out. What are you going to do? You're paralyzed. you're frozen, you feel it creeping up on you and trying to choke the life out of you and kill you. And it does kill people. And what are you going to do? I'm sorry, Mr. Hatman. I'll get into this religious thing. Can you please, I'm going to hit you now. That doesn't work, guys. We have to acknowledge we have something they want, and it's a soul. It's our energy. It's our life force. They want it because they can. They want the energy. They want that. They want to feed off from you. But there's a whole lot more that goes into that too. And having to skip, there's so much. It's like I could literally talk for 12 hours and I wouldn't hit all the points. But, uh, it took me a while to realize that, because like I said, like I mentioned, I personally had stepped away from the religious thought myself. I'd seen aliens, I'd seen UFOs, I'd seen angelic beings. I'd also had, for as young as I can remember, I've had these spiritual trips to what I call the Crystal City. It looks very much like ancient Greek buildings, but made of white marble and crystal. And learned a lot from there. I remember, not from hypnosis either, spontaneous recollection of agreeing to be born and all of these things and to help with certain things. It's a whole lot. And it's why I had to kind of write all of these books to encompass the whole thing. And there's more to come. Oh my goodness, so much more to come. Um, so it's like I had this understanding about what I'd come here to be doing and working on, and I've been working on it ever since. But what got most interesting, when I wrote my first book, The Secret War, that's the book that uh, talks about the conflict in alien contact, how there's good and bad beings, and how shadow people are involved. I wrote in that book my skepticism about Jesus encounters, people seeing Jesus in a bowl of soup to a tree trunk. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I was skeptical about such things. I'm like, I literally wrote in that book, if Jesus were around, I think I would have seen him by now. Um, Egotistical as it was, I felt that way. And again, it took me 4 years to finally get a publisher. So during that time, I was editing the book, and I was getting close to getting it published. Little did I know, and I had an encounter that I can't say anything else but to say, it was a Jesus encounter, changed everything for me because I didn't have much to say, but the Secret War book, here's the information, here's the warning. Shadow people, Hat Man phenomena is going to grow exponentially. Be ready. Um, and I gave up grades in college so I wouldn't have to do public speaking, for presentation. I wouldn't. I'd give up those grades. And when I had this first encounter with Jesus, he told me, "Don't worry what others say. Know that I'll be there to give you the words." And it seems so simple, but before I do or speak about anything, I always tell them, I'm like, "You promise you give me the words, so I'm holding you to it because I have nothing to say." It's just like, so Jesus is real. Aliens are real. Shadow people are real. Hat Man's real. And there's a lot of in betweens. And a lot of people seem to feel like their video games are more realistic than this hubbub about there being a God, and I'm here to tell you that's so not the case. I had friends that I had took great pride in picking on that went to church. And after I had my first experience, they're like, "Wow, what happened to you, Heidi? Because you've never talked like that." Because all I kept saying is, "Wow, Jesus is no joke, guys." So that's what I called my book on those encounters. I've had more, but not a ton. The book is called Jesus No Joke. And it was just being painfully honest about my skepticism. And I sure wasn't looking to talk to him, I wasn't looking for any of that. But, the reality is what it is. And what was interesting to me with the being that I mentioned, the pink fleshy creature that showed up, he told me I didn't pray enough. I said, "Well, what is this?" Speaking through my friend. And I'm like, why am I having a alien telling me I don't pray, And it was wild because then he later said, do you know Jesus is who he said he was? And he's acknowledged throughout the universe there is a God. And at that time I hadn't had my experiences where, with Jesus. So it really, I didn't know what to think with all of that. But, you know, in the face of UAP being revealed, which I hate that word because they're trying to whitewash what we've worked on for so long, decades, as they lied to us and continue to lie to us. So the UFO phenomena, but as they're coming forward and revealing they're real, I'm afraid people will lose even more faith that there's a God. And I'm telling you, there is, and even our government realizes that. Ask how many of them are Christian today still, knowing what they know. Ask them. See who has a religion they believe in. Why do they, if they know aliens are real? Um, because even the beings in the face of abducting aliens, they respond to the name Jesus, the intention of it, even. When people are paralyzed, and they think the name or make the sign of the cross on the roof of their mouth. I had somebody write me. That was amazing. And they were able to move. So what's going on here then? And I'm sorry, it's a whole lot to say, but I didn't even get to tell you guys about I am an occupational therapist, and I host on Coast to Coast AM's podcast network with my show called Dark Becomes Light, where I take people's experiences from near death experiences to Hatman and try to lend some common sense approach and some of the patterns as to why these things happen to people. And I'm the author of 8 books, and I'm a cartoonist. I do the Outlanders comic, which is a paranormal comic strip. So, yeah, so all that stuff. Here you go.
There
Yeah,
you go.
throw your questions now.
Yeah, it's hard to tell your story. I understand. Um,
It's a lot.
yeah, I know. As somebody who's been doing the podcast circuit myself, I've tried to condense my story as short as possible. So good effort. That was good. Okay, that's fine. Don't worry about it. No, that was an interesting story. So it sounds to me like you were raised relatively loosely religious, kind of Christian, maybe. Then grew up and kind of left all that behind, and then found your way back. Seems to be the story you have there. And that seems to be a lot of people's stories, especially people coming to, let's say, the truth movement, if you want to call it anything. A lot of them are people who basically rediscovered their faith in Jesus. The end goal of searching for the truth, whatever topic that is, yours is obviously through the shadow entities and the UFO phenomena. You always end up at the bottom finding Jesus there as the ultimate truth in the end, and where it all kind of leads back to. So your story to me is one of many stories which always ends in the same way, coming back to finding Christ, which is fascinating. So the book in the background there, you've got the Hat Man. I've got my copy here.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was a huge eye opener to me because it was during the time I was actually having these I don't know, demonic attacks, we'll call them, of some kind. I was kind of finding my way to Christ, still quite new to the idea, reading the Bible, listening to preachers, trying to take it in, but at the same time, I had a lot of demons that were kind of coming at me because I was leaving behind the life that they preferred me to have, type of thing. And the Hat Man was one of those dreams I had where he basically was hunting me down, telling me I owed him something in this dream. And I woke up completely. I've never heard of this thing before that dream. I literally, it was not on my radar. And I was like, what the hell was that? So I did some deep research, looking all over this, typing demon with a hat or whatever I could find, just anything at all. And your name came up with this book, which you had just published at the same time I had this experience. And so the synchronicity there was just a bit insane for so I bought the book straight away, and I read through it and I realized, yeah, that's it. That's who came at me. And in a very similar fashion, actually, on a plane with the sun in the background, walking towards me with ribbons flying off behind him, and,
Come on.
and yeah, that's
Oh,
what
it
I
gives me
mean.
chills.
And the whole experience is on my channel. It's like a 10-minute. drawn it out as well as best I can to try and show what visually happened to me. But to find out that thousands of other people around the world had had the same experience was a huge wake up call for me. It was like, this is real. This is not just a coincidence. This is sure signs that the demonic realm is a real thing and there are nefarious entities literally working towards trying to kill us and take our souls in a way, and so this was it. This is one of those first stepping stones for me to go down my route. And obviously people who know my story, they're not here for that today. But that's this Hatman character. Ever since, I've been trying to just pinpoint and get down and trying to understand, where is he in the hierarchy of this demonic realm exactly? Um, what's his end goal? He seems distinctly different from other demonic entities, because I've got my own research into where the Nephilim, where the demons come from, and when even the shadow people, I'm not even 100% where they fall into the category either. But I do know people encounter what are called jesters when they take dimethyltryptamine and go to these other weird realms. And I've found links that a lot of these entities have a similar story or a similar agenda, and it's usually to tell the person who they encounter that, well, you're a god. God isn't real, you're a god, and we're all God collectively, seems to be the message they're always sending, which is kind of antithetical to the truth in a sense. And I made my own links that, well, these seem to be the disembodied spirits of giants that used to rule the earth that looked something similar to what we would call a clown today, in a sense, and that's why we have clowns as a symbol in the West. And so I've got my own thing going on, but the Hat Man, well, he's a weird one. I can't quite pin him down. I can't quite understand what's going on. So I've called on other researchers to help me figure this out. And me and Vicky Joy Anderson kind of came to a strange conclusion that he seems to be somebody who appears to fulfill contracts. It's like soul contracts. He's kind of like a powerful player, kind of like the accountant of the demonic realm or a lawyer of the demonic realm. He seems like he's very interested in you and your soul and its connection to him, or taking it in some way. And it's kind of like he's there to maintain some kind of weird soul contract that you may not even remember making, let's say in a dream or something. There's something more official about him, something more higher ranking about him, something more. He's got an agenda. It's planned. It's thorough. It's not just random demonic attacks just for the sake of it. I don't know what to make of this guy. So I want you to tell me, from your years of experience and the thousands of testimonies of people sharing with you their encounters with this guy, what are the common threads? What is this? Are there many hat men? Is it just one hat man? Like what's going on, Heidi? Help me. Help me. That's why I've got you here today.
Oh,
Tell me everything you know. I want to know it all thoroughly.
oh my goodness. Well, I did my best to throw it in the book as well, especially the parts that everybody should be most pressed about is, are you okay? I think a lot of times people get caught up in the details and they miss the point of it. Yeah, there's history, but that history isn't going to help you today. And that was pushed on me to really hone in on today, because there's so little time left. Digging into the past is just going to waste your time and energy to figure him out. Know how to get rid of him. That's what's important. Know that it's not just a possibility he's going to come to people, it's a threat. He's looking for everybody eventually, but he's taking out those who are most intuitive, most creative, most in line to help mankind move to a different understanding in this universe. So um, it's disheartening sometimes when I hear so much energy getting put into the, oh, this is what he's about. Oh, I figured it out. There it is. And it's like, what did he do to you? How close did he get? Because we can't lose you while you're busy researching that, element. Because a lot of people are like, gosh, we're obviously in the end times, Heidi. You got the edge on the Hat Man, the modern day devil, now owning the name to Hat Man and shadow people. um you know and that was done, by the way, to try to pull in some of the wild theories that were going on out there and some of the damage. I mean, when you have a 7-year-old writing you a message. A lot of times people think their kids are just playing games. No, they're Googling Hat Man. They write me, "Hi, I'm Tommy. I'm 7. Please help. Mommy thinks I'm crazy." As people are just trying to make a buck off from the devil and his minions. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to make sure that the message is clear and straight. But people still abuse it. I hear there's another film coming out. Wow. Oh, yeah, we check with our lawyers. You can't really sue us that much. So, what? Yes, I can. And that's really dumb. But it's like the work's been done, and what's important. Um, I can't even stress that more. And so many people are like, we're in the end times, we're going to be dying. I hope not, because we're going to lose too many people. We're going to lose too many. Nobody knows the day or the hour when that will happen. In the meantime, make sure you get clear of these things, because if you're still, now this is important, if you're still experiencing these, anybody's still experiencing these things, guess who meets you on your near death journey? Yeah, you don't want that. Those are guaranteed to be your meter greeter. That's messed up, isn't it?
Hmm.
So as people ponder it, I'm concerned about them. I'm concerned about anybody. It's heartbreaking. I sit here and I read these emails, and it's like, as long as I've been in this, I still tear up with it, because people are not just getting attacked, they're getting raped, they're getting bitten, they're being thrown across the room in front of their neighbors and friends. Um, and it's like, let me dive into that history. I want to see the guy that just got thrown into a garbage bin by the Hat Man in front of people. You know, I want to help the person who got scooped up and, brought and teleported someplace. I want to help those people. We have hostages right now. Um, and we're concerned about what somebody wrote before about these things. I can't put my energy there. Um, I think it keeps people entertained, but I'm not about trying to entertain as I am about trying to save the people, because that's what I agreed to do, is to try to help. Um, and I can't stress that enough. It's too important. It's too important. I'm just if knowing where it's going, and seeing the signs that were at the level that I was warned about. Figure out God, guys. Figure him out. Um, know that there's an opposing force. You would think for these atheists, oh, everybody's becoming an atheist. It's like a trend. Ooh, have fun with that. Uh, it's like, yeah, I'm agnostic because I'm so smart now. Great for you. That happy man loves that. He loves going after those people. It's like, try to make it seem like I had positive experiences with him. Oh, because you weren't scared. That's the positive experience. Or, oh, he didn't rape you yet. Okay. That's the positive experience. Oh, he hit your abusive father. Now you owe him. He did you a favor. So when you mention that in your dream, what did he do for you? He might have done something. You might not remember it. He might have done something. And it's like, somebody got terrible luck all of a sudden, he throws trees on people's cars. He does crazy stuff. Sometimes you see him, sometimes not always, shadow people. He has minions that work for him. It's like the ante is raised, guys, and he's placing his bets on people not to figure out what he's doing today,
Hmm.
and he's winning. And I'm upset about it, because it's not time. We don't have time for dilly dallying with. We see the numbers going up. You ask somebody that's seen a ghost, 9 times out of 10, it's Hat Man. That's not new. It's been going on for a few years at a level that I know is what they warned about, what the beings warned about. And it's also, as people throw their Christian stance away, or whatever they believe to be true away, because they're smarter than these old myths. And I am a god. That's the newest one. We're all gods. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Well, shoot, I'd drive a nicer car. or true, command things to happen for you. It's all about self these days, and that individualizing. We're stronger in numbers. We know this. This is basic. I am not a god. Are we part of him? Heck yes. You know, can we help persuade and move things in a better direction? Heck yes, we can. But to get ahead of it, I sure didn't create myself to be born. I didn't do that. There's a creator. A creator did that. Call it what you will, but there is a creator. And just like when you have a child, I don't have any, but when you have a child, you're trying to do your best if you're a decent parent to make sure they're okay. Somebody's threatening, bullying you on the playground. Oh, you're going to try to do something about that. Well, there's something that came from another place, a dark source, and we come from a light source, opposing forces. Shadow people are absent of light. It can't penetrate, Is that weird? Why? It's absent of light. It doesn't like light, even, it doesn't even like it. It doesn't like positivity. It doesn't like humor. So I tell people that are being bombarded, fill your home with joy. Only watch comedies, crack up. I talk about these things rather light, and I'd like to call Hat Man a jerk. But I'm not going to confront him. I'm not stupid. I'm not a god. I'm not ancient. This thing is ancient evil, okay? And people think like, well, I could stand up to it. I pity the person that does that, because you get more problems. It's like an invitation. You're taking a step to it. That's an invitation. It's like try that in a fight. You take a step at somebody. That's an invitation to get hit, right? He's going to do that, and he loves it. And your individual self is not going to take this thing down. He even has minions, okay? He even has minions that works for him.
Mhm.
So you better pray there's something on your side. If you're bigger than your britches, think you're reading and watching enough videos got you to a point of feeling good about yourself and powerful. It's going to help you in the face of that thing that paralyzed you on that bed. Dude, you are not going to do well. So
Mhm.
drop some of the ego, get comfortable with being okay knowing you have a soul. You can't even remember where you came from before you were born, but you're bigger and badder than that thing. I just tell people, humble yourself. It's okay. And some people, I've heard this new notion of, oh, begging to God. It's like, I'm not going to beg, I'm going to command things to happen. And it's like, you know, if that worked really well, you'd live forever, right? On your own, because you could command to live forever, but you're not. So, um, listen to the people that have had near death experiences. They live on through something else. I don't think they commanded that. That's our soul living further. That's just something else. I just I hope people get the message, and I think when people are on their deathbeds, that's when the begging begins, right? Oh God, here it comes, help me,
Mhm.
just be okay today. Be okay today, so you don't have to try to flex that muscle in your last 2 minutes of life when you see shadow people in Hat Man coming to grab you, because they are. Um, and I've interviewed so many people and near death experience researchers. Everything's love and light, right? Oh,
Mhm.
I see this beautiful light, and I'm like, I want to hear about those dark ones. Not everybody's going in the light. Well, that's interesting, is what this researcher told me. Well, that's interesting. There's this man in a black suit and hat comes and gets people. I said, yeah, those are the ones I want to hear about those,
Yeah.
because it's real. It's real.
Mhm.
Millions of people have seen this thing, this hat man. And because of my talking, I've been a regular on Coast to Coast AM for over 20 years now. And it's interesting how people forget where this talk came from, but I still talk about the Shadow People Hat Men regularly. And now I have my own show with them talking about it. But they're just like, it's so many different points of, people like to pull on to try to paint the picture of what this thing is, where it's going, what it's up to, and it's like if you're experiencing it and if you're trying to help others experiencing it, that's the important part. You need to act now on trying to save the situation. There's enough to do now than the history. I know there's history buffs, and we need that as well because it helps other people to understand the history's there, though. Facts and figures help, but there's a lot to work with today, and I hope that more emphasis can put on helping. Sorry, it's a big long answer, but it's a whole lot.
I do get what you say. It's best not to dwell on where they come from. It's best to dwell how you can protect yourself from it because it's real, whether wherever it comes from or not. And the issue is, we're probably not going to be able to figure out exactly where they came from because there's a lot of lies and purposeful suppression of this type of thing anyway. So,
Yeah,
but what we do know, and what you've obviously proven, is that the name of Jesus has power over this. You can protect yourself. You can put on the full armor of God. You can save yourself from this issue. And like I said, my encounter, I've never encountered this thing since that day. And I've been saved since then, and it's a different life. I don't have demonic attacks anymore. And when I did have them in the early stages, they went just by asking Jesus to help. So it was one of those things. It's
nice,
one of those things, and that's in my own testimony. So
nice,
I have the same message as you know. First,
beautiful.
focus on protecting yourself first, and the details aren't that important in the long run. What is
Yeah,
important first is to protect yourself. So I do understand that. And from what you were telling me, I mean, from the sounds of it, if he is always there to those people who, let's say, almost die and have a near-death experience, who that might necessarily have been more in a life of darkness and not necessarily saved, he's there waiting for them. Is this guy basically something akin to, let's say, the devil, Satan himself? Is he the leader? Is that who you theorize it could be as a possibility?
believe it or not, I didn't even theorize it. The thousands of emails of people, they would say, "Who is he? He's the devil, isn't he?" So they answered their own question
Yeah.
over and over and over again, and he does speak. And he will tell you who he is. He is the devil. But you want to know what's really disturbing is more the past several years here. He tells people he's Hat Man.
Hmm.
I mean, wow, to adopt the name that I gave him. Um, when exorcists are working on a person who's possessed, they're like, "Tell me your name," because there's power in a name. And now to own the name to this thing claiming to be the devil and acting very much like the devil, it's shocking and it's humbling and it's very it puts a big clump of responsibility as well because to make sure that it's the message is clear and it's pure to the point that the best that I know how, not for grabby filmmakers and authors, wannabe authors on my material. It's upsetting. It's like you would think they'd reach out, right? I
Hmm.
know they just I don't know. It's a shame and it's a sham. And I'm like, when people dabble in this, I did work with a filmmaker once. Everybody on set got attacked. Um, the things attacked the actual film itself. I mean, I can't even tell you the level. So when people think this is something easy peasy to just, I'm a weekend warrior on this. Oh man, be prepared because it's it's studying you and it's looking for a way in. You know, for myself, it's like, people ask me, well, how do you sleep at night? And I'm like, usually on my left side. I'm okay. I
Yeah.
I didn't understand why I was okay all the time either, and I didn't know why people ask that question. I have more answers to that now, but I know one of them is, I did. I remembered. I could go into that if you want. I remembered before I was born, and I didn't always remember, but I remembered agreeing to do this. And to help people into a time of change. I don't know about an end time. I know about a time of change. And people need to clear up and get straight on that. Their soul's important. These things can't deal with us as we are. I hope people realize that. They sneak around mostly at night, not always. They see you sleeping and then they paralyze you. And then they're like, haha, I have you now. Come on. What does that tell you? We are powerful. We are. There's something to be reckoned with us. Um, but once they've got the jump on us, what do? You know, it's there's something to be said about the human condition, the human soul, and who protects us too.
Hmm.
So there's a lot to say. I'm sorry.
No,
Have more questions?
you're right. No, no, that was brilliant. I mean, there's something I want to share with you. You may not have heard about, and I only just discovered this myself a couple of days ago. Okay, and it blew my mind considering the research you do, and obviously just the Hat Man in general. Something I've been thinking about, you know. And I found this video that someone produced recently. He goes by the name Cryptid Candy on YouTube, and he basically did an iceberg deep dive, going darker and darker in each tier around the hay fever drug Benadryl. Okay, and there's an active compound in there, and it turns out I didn't had no idea this was a thing, but there's a huge underground online subculture dedicated to taking copious amounts of these pills with the sole intention of going into delirium or going to another dimension they call Ariel, where the Hat Man is. And there's an
Yes.
entire religion created by one individual who has his own cult dedicated to with the worship and veneration of the Hat Man and communion with the Hat Man through taking heavy amounts of this drug. And he claims, apparently he's written his own Bible based on the Hat Man. Okay, and I need to find the PDF. Okay, he says he's got it. The person I interviewed who made the video says this guy has a Bible apparently, and I've got the PDF version. Someone's just sent it to me, so I'll try and get a copy to see what he's saying. But this person basically claims if you take any of this chemical, then you have already given your soul to the Hat Man, is what he says. That's how powerful this drug is, and that's what its purpose is truly for. And he claims Ariel is the realm in which Hat Man lives and has created, and where when you die, you go there if you have given your soul to Hat Man. That's where you get to go after death. Kind of like the Vikings have Valhalla, you know, they'll have their own pocket dimension heaven that they go to when they die. Well, some people claim that no, this Hat Man dimension, Ariel, is where people who give their soul over to the Hat Man get to go when they die. But you have to understand this is a weird, very dark subculture where the experiences they have are full of shadow spider, shadow people entities, and specifically the Hat Man, and it's the darkest experience you can have on a drug, but that's what they go there for, the darkest experience. That's what they're going. It's like a nightmarish, hellish
Disgusting.
experience. Ariel is like an akin to a decaying hell, you know. And but that's what they want to. These people who take these things want to go there. They want to have dark, terrifying, terrible experiences. That's the kick, the thrill they get from taking this amount of the drug. It's not like other drugs that make you feel good. They want to have these
Yeah.
horrible experiences. That's the aim, you know. And I was wondering what you think of this. Yeah, I didn't even know Benadryl, which you can buy on the shelf on the counter, had such a dark thing going on, and that it was such a powerful drug that could cause people to
Yeah.
literally gain access to the shadow realm full of shadow spiders and the Hat Man. And these are what people
Yeah.
specifically describe who have no spiritual inkling whatsoever.
Mm.
They don't care about
Yeah.
spirit. They've never read your book. They never watched any of these videos or people talk about the Hat Man, but they have this whole culture dedicated to him, and they know
They
nothing.
if they
They know nothing
if
about
they know
this.
that if they know that name Hat Man, they've heard of it. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing. I did hear about the Benadryl challenge.
Yeah, yeah,
Children have died.
yeah. He said that.
Children, children have died. And this is part of the disgust that I have with people that take something, and distort and create it this way. And it's got my name all over it, mind you. And it's nothing that I aimed for. I didn't hear about the Yahoo idiot who's created a cult after it.
Hmm.
Uh, May he rot. You
Well, yeah.
know, because he's bringing people down with him. And it sounds like a bored teenager, immature idiot.
Oh yeah.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, it's like, no, I'd like to hear more about who the idiot is because horrific. And I've heard of a child getting killed doing this Benadryl challenge. And, and people ask, why did you trademark? Well, hello, to stop stuff like that. Why did Stan Lee trademark Spider-Man? It's like it was a name, but it carries a lot with it. And it identifies with people all over the world. And to people that don't understand or are seeking to know that there's something else to this life. They know evil is it's so much more willing to show itself. And so, yeah, you conjure up, it shows up. But guess what? The positive does too. When you block and get rid of this dark stuff, the light starts happening. Angelic encounters. That's how I had the Jesus encounters. I had gotten rid of the shadow people, hat man stuff because it's we're evolving. Mankind is evolving, and it's trying to stop that evolution. And it's so angering and disgusting. I don't even know what to think of that. I'd not heard of him, this Yahoo doing this. And I'd love to definitely learn more about it. But the Hat Man Benadryl challenge, to say it's a drug that automatically your soul goes to him. Let me tell you, nobody and nothing can own your soul. That's a lie.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it belongs to the one who created it. Okay. You cannot hand it over. Here you go. It's not like a pack of gum.
No.
That's so crazy. But that's why up until whenever you could say, all right, I'm done with this and walk away. There are satanic cult leaders who could walk away. They're Christian now. You don't think they gave their soul away, supposedly? No, they didn't because they can't. So it's a lie.
Mm.
People dabbling in this stuff, they're in for trouble and they just need to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'd assume this whole fake religion created by the Hat Man, his end goal is literally just to make you die, overdose on the drug, and then, biblically speaking, you sleep till the end judgment at the end of time, and if he can get you to die before repentance or being saved, then he's won in his eyes. If you believe you get to come to him, then even though it's a lie, he doesn't care. As long as you believed it and your life was ended before you had a chance to know Jesus, he's happy. And again, that's the whole idea of being saved. What happens is between God and yourself, not me. I'm not judging anybody on where they are in their journey in that respect, but it does seem like I said, he's the father of all lies, and he's really duped this cult, these people actively right now. It's a very weird modern phenomena that kind of happened in the last 5 years, and that's to me, these are signs that this is becoming more and more prevalent. And the Benadryl challenge, he meant, no, the guy he interviewed and made this video explained to me that children are dying. Like, this is serious, and this is stuff you can just get off the counter, and it's kind of, they said their attitude behind it was kind of like, it's just a joke, it's just a meme. Like saying Candyman in the mirror 3 times or something, or playing with the Ouija boards. Let's just see what happens for fun. Let's take Benadryl and see the Hat Man. Ha ha ha. Let's do that. And like I said, children have died. It's that stupid and serious at the same time. And it's all kind of like underground meme internet culture that fuels this. And it's just a sad, very sad, dark thing to discover. Like, and I just needed to know what your opinion was on this, because obviously, like I said, you have the name, you copyrighted the name, the Hat Man, and you could, in theory, have power to do something about this in a serious legal sense. It's just interesting. I just thought I'd bring it to you to see what you say.
Yeah,
I'll send you the information of the guy's name. I,
appreciate it.
I can't bring it up right now, but I'll relay any information I get from going forward from this person to you. I'm going to ask him to send me the document as well to see what this guy's written. Because if he's written a book, then using your stuff, technically, then there's something there, isn't there? In a sense, but it's dark stuff. It's really dark, and again, it's a sign of the times. I mean, do you have any examples of people who have saved themselves with Jesus? Let's start and end on a positive note. Do you have any
Yeah,
examples of how people can protect themselves from this person? Do you have any
yeah,
stories that you've heard
yeah,
which are particularly powerful?
yeah. Again, having the 8 books, I have 5 books all surrounding the topic of faith, Jesus, angels. And it's my journey essentially because uh, myself. It's saved myself first. I didn't know any better. I was raised Methodist. That's like going to a campfire and somebody just so happens to say Jesus. I wasn't that religious, you know.
Hmm.
Really laid back. And for myself, it was really a coming to realize, my God, we're in the middle of an individual battle. The secret war is something that goes on in the privacy of our own homes. We think we're going to see a battle in the heavens always, the revelations when people go to bed at night and they're battling for their lives then. Realize there's a lot of struggle out there. Um, I've known, gosh, thousands of people. I've been humbled to be a part of their experiences when they've been faced with shadow people, Hat Man. Again, they work with abducting alien types, and so many people have told me, I told it in the name of Jesus, get back, and it left. I've had other people say it laughed at me when I said that. Well, there's a reason behind that too. It's like you can't throw it out and have no faith behind it. You can't use it like it's a piece of toilet tissue. You have to have something behind that instead of like you're throwing, a glass at it or something. So it's important. I've had people that, man, just touched me because even if I know it was all this work has helped one person has made it worth it. Your story has helped me to know that it's worked. I've had, oh my gosh, I had, to pull up one story in particular, I had a guy that was like, I'd read your book, I'd heard, what you said to do. I'd stepped away from believing in any of this religious fluffy stuff, and but the aliens kept coming every night, and I had to do something about it, and I knew they know when they're coming. It's not something when people could feel that, and they'd also happen to experience the shadow people, Hat Man, alien abduction, because they work together. They have a similar MO. They paralyze you. They come at night when your guard is down, right? That's not just the only thing that links them. But yeah, and he's like, I was ready. I went back to my thoughts and my feelings about when I was a kid and how I felt about God and that piece of innocence. And when they came, I said, in Jesus' name, God Almighty, you have no control over me. And he's like, they left. And then I blessed my place and I'm okay now, So it's important. I tell people, and it's on my, in my books, it's in several of my books. And I have a Facebook group called Shadow People Hat Man Experiencer. If you write me through my website, HeidiHollis.com or shadowfolks.com, I'll send it to you. It's a method of blessing your home because these things like to come when your guard is down, you're asleep, you're sick, you're weak, you're dying. So you have to protect your space first. And so you have calm, so you don't have things constantly observing you, trying to figure out a way to gain your soul. So bless your space. And I never take this off. I use my cross necklace to bless my home. And then I wear it. So I take my blessing with me because they've come at me at work. They've gone after my patients. They've gone after coworkers and friends, family. So I tell people, bless your space. So they don't come in and get you while you're down. Sure, you might have the nightmares of them, but that's just their last little attempts to gain access to you. But it's a matter of making sure you do this blessing, not get a priest or a pastor. Sure, they can help in it, but you have to participate in it because it's up to you, your faith, you stand behind. That's not their house, it's yours. You got to put that brick wall up. It's very important. And, you know, having had the experiences that I've had, the angelic ones, the Jesus encounters. I mean, I can't even tell you how much I thought that was a bunch of garbage, and then to be one that experienced it, I had to swallow my pride. I had to rewrite the chapter in my book where I bashed him as a skeptic in the Secret War book, and I put in my experience I had with him. I just, I had to just eat it and just take it, and I didn't really care. I still don't care what people think. It's like all I could do is be painfully honest about what I've experienced.
Hmm.
And I'm using my real name. A lot of people in this field do not. I but called somebody one name for so many years, only to find they're using their middle name or their mother's maiden name and stuff like that. People have hid for a long time. I've always used my real name and use myself as an example in hopes it helps. I'm a practicing medical professional. It's like I am just who I am, and I don't know how to talk about these things other than being as flawed or humorous as I am in any other topic. So
Hmm.
it's my hope that any of this helps. And I'm always available. My social media, people send me a message. I do my best to get back to people. So at one, put a one in front of my name, Heidi Hollis, and I usually get back. I can miss messages though, isn't that right, Paul? But I get back at some point.
You do get back
But
eventually, yeah, that's just fine.
yeah, it's yeah. So it's I'm doing my best as a one woman show, pretty much. I don't have an entourage. I don't have any of that. I keep my day job. I don't have anybody making movies with my okay or approval or TV shows. But I'll tell you one thing. Now you guys might find this interesting, and I've been putting out there more recently. Uh, there was a TV show based on the apocalypse. It was a spinoff of the X Files, the third and final season. It was called Millennium. I don't know if you remember that, but it was called
I don't watch much TV these days, to be honest, so I wouldn't even know. So tell me, I'm new to this.
yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So the show was called Millennium. It was a spinoff of the X Files. The third and final season. Watched it with some friends. It's an old show, and I stepped away from the TV, and my friends are cracking up, like, "Oh my God, Heidi, there's a character on here that looks just like you." I'm like, "Oh, shut up! Come on now." I sit down, and they called her Agent Hollis. It was like such a Twilight Zone moment. We're
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? Then they introduced the sister and my sister's first the nickname that I give her, my dad's full name. I was just beside myself. Now, and you think about it, it's on the apocalypse. And a lot of the elements that are in this program reflect in ways that I haven't quite gone into detail publicly yet, but it's wild. Is that a coincidence? We all say that they're feeding us bits of information to be accepted at some point. And here I stand as the only person that's done what I have with introducing and putting a warning out that came from out there, and it's been accurate, and it's the devil, you know. And what is all of it? So
Hmm.
there's more to the story that I hope very soon I'll be able to discuss further. And it's even thrown me off. I didn't know. Um, and everything's coming full circle. So again, I can't stress enough, but uh, figure this out, figure this whole element out. Jesus is real, God's real. I don't know of any other figure that gets ridiculed more than Jesus. It's in cartoons. It's this, it's that. If you talk about the other main religions, you're anti this, you're anti that. But, Christianity is just full speed ahead to attack and smash us. And it's like, and we just grin and bear it because we are the religion of love. What did Jesus say so bad? But love. So, you can argue about the little bits of the Bible that can't be real, but you guys have to just get cut through some of that and just get to there's that force that's here for us in the face of millions acknowledging they have seen this evil piece of crap sitting on the edge of their bed punching through their chest and trying to rip their soul out. So let's get it right. Our children are being targeted too. He's like a pervert that conditions the child to get accepting of them too, of this presence. So as they get older, he takes full advantage. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. So let's figure this out together and take our steps forward, be brave, have faith, have no doubts. that we can take this on, guys, and we will. And keep keep Christ and God in your mind and heart while you take these steps.
Absolutely. I mean, hopefully, when you are in a position where you can reveal more, because I understand you've got some things you need to work out first, and you've got
Yes.
something behind the scenes. I'm happy to just listen. So come and tell the story to me. That's fine. I'll just sit there quietly and let you go. You know, that's
Appreciate it.
no problem for me. It's always fascinating to hear. You know, you said a lot there, which I want to quickly just unpack point by point. You said, they come at night. They come when you're at your weakest. They come when they can easily get the pounce on you when you're unaware. Because we are to be feared. Because if we are, especially if we have the Holy Spirit in us, then we're a serious weapon. So they tend to stay away, from people who have that because it's just too risky. It's like playing with fire. But but even then, we all are made in the image of God. We all have that possibility to call on Jesus in our moment of weakness or fear, which is why they again try to paralyze you, stop you from being able to say anything, try and stop you from being able to do anything they can while they try and drain that energy from you. And you reminded me of another author I'd recently just had on, Vicky Jo Anderson, and her book is called something along the lines of "They Only Come Out at Night." It's a spiritual warfare book that basically says something very similar to what you just said, but she has her own stories, takes on it, and things like that. So you might be interested in looking into her work. But I just thought that was interesting that you have these parallels because again, the story's the same. Everyone's telling the same story because we're all experiencing the same things because it's real. There's a common thread that connects them all together that proves this is something people all over the world are dealing with in the exact same way. So I just thought that was fascinating. And what you said there about in the millennium, is that what it's called? They've literally modeled a character after you. That alone is something
Millennium.
that's something worth unpacking in a whole other episode because that's creepy. And I wouldn't put it past them to do stuff like that. I really wouldn't. Um, it's kind of like they're calling you out in a way or trying to get a reaction out of you as well with these type of things in a sense, isn't it? And what do you actually make of that? Do you have any theories as to what they're trying to do there?
Oh, that show aired in 1999.
Hmm. So it's even
And
creepier then, even weirder then, yeah.
very weird. And to come full circle, just a few years ago, oh man, I've had some conversations with CIA agent about that.
Mm,
It's deep. I don't even know how to approach it just yet because it involves family,
yeah,
and
that's fair enough.
so I hope to talk about that soon too because it's a lot. It's a lot. But I welcome people to look into it. It's the final season, the third and final season of the show.
Hmm.
And why is my face there? Why is my name there? Why is this? What is going on here? And I didn't know it then. I didn't have my book published in 1999,
Yeah.
you know? So I didn't know. But at that stage, I'd already been abducted and interrogated by our military
Hmm.
several times over, interrogated, asked questions. I'd been approached by NASA and other secret society groups. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to get through college. I was in a medical study. I was working hard. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I need to get to class,
Yeah.
leave me alone. I'm working 3 jobs to get through. And it was crazy. And I didn't understand my family's ties. I didn't understand I didn't remember all the stuff that I do now. And yeah, there's a lot that different people are aware of and have access to, whether they're taking drugs to go to different realms to explore it or not. But I do think that that's part of it, that they are tapping into something because how would they know anything about me? How would so far in advance? How would this one secret society of people that reached out to me wanting to from the UK, mind you, trying to have me come in to go to different places with them because of other ties that I have that I haven't spoken of, I haven't put out there, and just crazy stuff. So there's a lot of different things behind the scenes that it's hard to put it all into words sometimes, and so it's like I take on. another book project, and I'm like, maybe this will help explain. Maybe this will. Um, but it's just a strange world, guys, and it's not clear cut at
Mm-mm.
all.
Mhm.
You know. So
It seldom is, unfortunately. That's the problem. That's the spiritual war we're against. That's what this thing is, a spiritual battle at the end of the day, and things are going on behind the scenes, shall we say, in unseen realms, and even in the physical realm. With there's an agenda at play, they're essentially trying to play us, and again, there may be ties historically to our own family in ways that, like you said, that we just don't even understand ourselves until something happens, like this weird connection you just made up. But in your own time, Heidi, you can tell us that story another time. I think we're rounding this off now.
yeah,
I think it's probably a good place to leave it there.
cool.
This has been fun. It's been great just to talk to you and actually connect. That's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Um,
No, I appreciate it. This was really fun. And again, if people uh, have any questions about anything, HeidiHollis.com or at one Heidi Hollis on all my social media. And yeah, I do my best. And Dark Becomes Light is my podcast on coasttocoastam.com. So
Fantastic. Right, guys, you heard it there from Heidi herself. Where to find her. I hope you've had this little talk. I hope you've gleaned something from it. And of course, the most important point of all of this is that it all comes back to Jesus in the end. Get right with him. You'll be covered with
yes.
everything else, basically. That's the key point to take from any of this type of research. But other than that, guys, we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.